All right, folks. Hello and good evening. My name is Damon Lucas. I'm with the Office of Student Aid. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Um, we have some information for you about how to pay your fall statement. Myself, as well as a couple other colleagues from the Office of Student Aid, as well as the Office of Bursar, are here to help kind of give you some extra information that'll help you along the way when those bills are coming out. Here coming out shortly. All right. So first, we do have today's objectives. We're just going to go over a couple house rules. So first and foremost, this meeting is being recorded and we will be posted online next week. So with that being said, please do not be sharing any personal information in our chat we have going. You have to your email or anything along those lines because this will be out on the internet for everyone to see that sees it. Additionally, with that, please keep your cameras, mics, all of that stuff off. That way there's no interruptions during the presentation itself. Just helps streamline that. We will have a Q&A going through our chat. If you do have questions, please feel free to type them into the chat. Definitely helps. We'll keep answering the questions as quick as we can. If there are any questions that are kind of showing up a lot, we'll try to flag those, and then we will have those towards the end of when I have our Q&A section. We will have some links that do populate or show up on the presentation itself. We will have those separately added to the chat toward the end of it. So don't feel or freak out if you can't click the link because you can't click the link through the presentation itself. But we'll have all those for you. With that being said, let's go over some of the objectives today. So first, we got the FAFSA. Just gonna briefly touch up on that. Most people have submitted their FAFSA. We'll just kind of go over for those who have not submitted it how to do so. We'll also touch up on verification, just kind of go over kind of what that is a little bit, and kind of review that as well. So we'll go over two loan options. So we'll go over like private student loans, how you can kind of find those, and the Parent Plus loan, which is and as well as our other kind of loan object. We are also going to go over briefly accepting and processing your aid. Those are kind of your loans, as well as we'll go over delegated access, authorized payer access as well. As this thing is kind of going around, we're going to go over some billing options, some payments and refunds, as well as I'll briefly touch up on some external awards as well. So as I kind of mentioned with the Q&A, we're going to have a bunch of our staff kind of in the background answering those questions. Just to kind of reiterate it again, please do not put your personal information into the chat. We definitely don't want that out and into the world itself. So please just kind of keep any emails and stuff or anything along those lines. Keep those out of these chats, please. All right, then we have, myself and a colleague, Craig, will be the primary one. Craig will kind of come on for the question section later. I'm the one doing the presenting part of it. Funny enough about these Bitmojis, I'm actually taller than Craig, even though it does not look like it. I just thought that was a little funny. All right, so FAFSA. So this is to be completed annually. A lot of folk will ask, "Oh, I did the FAFSA last year. Do I need to do it again this year?" Yes, you will have to do that. For the FAFSA, pretty easy with that one. You'll just go to studentaid.gov to click it. As you see here, it'll complete your FAFSA form. Definitely recommend doing that because it opens you up for that federal need-based aid, as well as you must have a FAFSA on file to do a plus loan. So definitely get that in if you have not. You do still have lots of time to get it done. I would definitely get that done sooner rather than later, just so we can get awarding done for you if it has not been already. And then that way you can start the Parent Plus loan route. As I mentioned, you do have to have the FAFSA on file to be able to apply for the Parent Plus loan. So if you have not already, get that FAFSA in. So we do get a lot of questions about change in finances. So what this kind of is, if there's been a significant change in income, death in family, anything along those lines, we have something called a special circumstances review. If the change in income is reflected in your 23 tax return, we can review it. If it is not yet filed in your 24 tax return, we won't be able to review it until later. So if for example, if you just lost your position like yesterday, we unfortunately wouldn't be able to review that just because it hasn't even been filed on a tax claim yet. If you would have that, you can either email us or call the office call the Office of Student Aid specifically, and we can start that process for you. It does take a couple of days to get it done, but we could definitely work that through with you, and definitely get some reviews done if you would need. So last thing about the FAFSA, you will have your master promissory note and loan insurance counseling to do for those federal direct loans. For students specifically, you'll have this, and for parents, you'll have to do this as well. It is important to get done. It will show up on the to-do list for students, and then if it populates later, you can actually just go to studentaid.gov and you can click it through that. Definitely get that done if you haven't already for your federal loans. That way, it can help build disperse the loans quicker rather than later. Once again, that's on studentaid.gov for the FAFSA, and then for your master promissory and loan insurance counseling. All right, so verification. So not every student has been selected for this yet. This will be populated into your to-do list online path. Here's just a brief example of what that kind of looks like. It can be for your verifying taxes, households, a couple other ones that go with it, but it is important to get that done because it will cost you some time there, and if you do not get it done, the aid itself cannot disperse. Here's just where you go for the tax ID upload here. And then you can upload fax or mail, but for students to upload it through their accounts, you must have full access. Full access is when you have completed your new student orientation. So most of you would have done that by now, but if you have not, you wouldn't have full access yet. If you would not have full access, otherwise you'll have to mail it or fax it. But if you have full access, you can upload it. Upload can be a lot quicker sometimes. I don't even know if people fax anymore, but you're more than welcome to fax, and mailing, you're at kind of liberty of the Postal Service. As I kind of mentioned, if you do not do this, your aid will not disperse. So you definitely need to get this done if you've been selected for verification. And if you would have questions about, hey, what's this? You can click on like the little blue tab on the to-do list, and it'll show you how to, like, what do you need to do, where you need to upload the information, and how you can do it. And if you would have questions about, hey, I'm just a little kind of confused what I need to upload, you can just reach out to us. We can help kind of answer those questions and get you taken care of. All right, like a stop sign. So stop here. Do not send us unsolicited documents. That'll help. If you do that, it'll slow the process of getting your review done, and then we won't be able to get to the information we need. So definitely do not send us anything that's not related to the tax information or whatever your verification step is. In doing so, you really help slow how quickly we can verify your information, get it taken care of. So sending us these unsolicited documents actually ends up costing you time and money as well. All right, so here is just kind of our housing cost for a kind of a little example of an account statement. So as you kind of see, this is updated for the 24 of this year. Just a brief example of what this would look like when those summaries start to come out, and how you'll be seeing those when you get the account summary. And then there's this little thing of make your checks payable to Penn State, include your PSU ID, and just some kind of extra information for you. All right, so as I kind of mentioned, we'll do Parent Plus and private loans. First, for Parent Plus, this is one of those ones you apply for through studentaid.gov. This is taking out the parent's name. You'll have to have that FAFSA on file to apply for that. And then for your typical private loans, you can just Google search private loan lenders. You'll get a bunch of information. We are not able to recommend a loan servicer or a loan provider for you, so you kind of have to do that information on your own. But you can Google search loan providers, loan servicers, whatever you want to call it, or whatever your preference is on that one, and you can find a bunch of information. Later in this link will actually show you some extra information, and you can go through it through Student Aid, through our Student Aid website, just how to create a loan budget. We'll actually go over that, I think, in the next slide here. We will review some worksheets for you. So we do have this on our website. It's a pretty handy tool. It's our loan interactive worksheet. So what you can kind of do is this helps you kind of determine how much you have to borrow or how much you might need to borrow. Our example here is the Parent Plus loan. For the Parent Plus loan specifically, the origination fee is 4.228%. So whenever you're filing or doing your submission of the Parent Plus loan, calculate in that loan fee coming out. So if you're, for example, if you file a loan for a specific amount and it's a little bit lower, that would be why, just because that origination fee does come out. For private loans, the origination fees do vary depending on what loan servicer you use. But for our example in here, you enter your billable cost. For example, you could type in housing or something along those lines, and then you type in your total aid received. So that would be through your award summary that you may have or should have gotten, and then you can just type in, and it'll give you the amount you need to borrow. Now, numbers can change. So, for example, if you type in something now, it might change a little bit differently between now and the start of when those bills come out. So just be wary of that. Numbers may change a little bit. If you do have non-billable expenses, just housing, you can just add that to the amount you need to borrow as well. All right, so we're going to touch up on the Parent Plus loan. This one in particular is a little bit different from like your typical private loan. And the aspect in regards to that is that when you want to borrow a maximum amount of a Parent Plus loan, it automatically goes to whatever your current cost of attendance would, like the remainder of your cost of attendance would be. You can select a specific amount. So, for example, if you don't want that to max out your Parent Plus loan, you can just click a specific amount. It's whatever option you would want to do on that. If you just want to just do the maximum amount, you can, or you can do a specific amount. If you're doing it per, like applying for the loan per semester, you can do that's more. You should more likely or less do the specific amount. If you're doing the maximum amount, a lot of people do that for the maximum amount for the whole year. So it's entirely up to you what option you want to do. Definitely look at some of the tools like how to create like our loan budget we went over to kind of help see what that looks like. Definitely, and also use that interactive loan worksheet we kind of just went over, because there's a really good tool to see how much you need to borrow before just clicking that maximum amount. Then, as I mentioned in the previous slide, there is still that origination fee. So either amount you pick will still have that origination fee. So definitely, whenever you're looking at look at if you want to do a specific amount and just do it for a certain amount, or if you want to do your maximum amount, maximum amount will automatically go to that cost of attendance then. So if you ever wonder, like, hey, what did I apply for? This would be the maximum amount versus specific. All right, so accepting aid. So a lot of you may have already looked at how to do this, but just in case you haven't, you can go to we have a little tutorial on how to do so. But if you do accept aid, you'll go if you haven't done already, you'll go to your My Finances button on LionPath, and then you will click on financial aid. Click on 2025 aid year, or some of you may have 2024 from the summer. You'll click on 2025, and then you'll scroll all the way down, and accept all aid, wherever aid you want to do. You can accept specific amounts, or you can accept all. Entirely up to you. If you are having issues with that, like you can't accept your aid, just let us know. We can figure out a way to repackage the aid itself. As repackage means offering the same thing again, but sometimes it may just be the system won't register it. So if you do have issues with this, just let us know. We can get it taken care of as well. But here's how to accept aid again. You just go through your My Finances button on LionPath. You'll click on the financial aid, go down to 2025. Or 2025 aid year. You'll see it as this Pennsylvania State University, and then federal aid 24-25. Then just click accept all awards, or decline all awards, whatever you want. Scholarships and grants are automatically accepted. So if you do see that on your award statement, don't worry about accepting it. We will accept it and take care for you. Then here is just tuition. So tuition is the hot topic of, hey, how much is it going to cost for my tuition this year? So top left, we have Pennsylvania residents cost, and then top right, non-Pennsylvania residents. So the top two is for University Park. The next one is for our Commonwealth campuses. You notice the Commonwealth campus is a little bit cheaper. for Pennsylvania residents as well as non-Pennsylvania residents. So that's just something to think about when you're coming to here. Our Commonwealth campuses are a little bit cheaper as well. So if you're ever thinking about, hey, University Park might be a little bit too pricey here, but you can still do the Commonwealth campus as well. It's always a great option. We have a lot of programs like our 2+2 programs where you can go to a Commonwealth campus first, then transfer up to main campus or University Park. So there are a couple options there. And housing cost, here's just a standard housing cost. Not all campuses, like the Commonwealth campuses, do have their own housing, so it might be a little bit different there. But for University Park specifically, here is just a housing cost for you to look at. And this can be found on tuition.psu.edu. So if you're questioning like, hey, where do I find this? Up in the right-hand corner is the website. It's tuition.psu.edu. It's a really good tool to help you out with like how much tuition costs. That does get updated pretty regularly. So if you're ever wondering again how much it costs, here's where you'd go to find that. All right. So we're going to go over delegated access quick. A lot of you may have already done this, and if you have, great. It's really important to do so, mainly because if you are calling in for your student and you don't have delegated access, we'll only be able to kind of like do like very general, vague kind of questions. If it's something in particular, we won't be able to review it unless you have delegated access. It is, again, very important you do so if you haven't already. We can go over a lot of things. The only thing is like academics, so the only thing we can't review. So to do this, you just go to you're going to learn to love LionPath, go to LionPath for the students, and then you'll click your My Information button. Scroll on down to delegated access in like the bottom left-hand corner, and then you'll click through. You have to fill out your name, email address, and then the email will automatically be sent to the parent to grant delegated access to the rest of it. So again, that is My Information. You'll click on the My Information button on LionPath. You'll then it'll scroll on down to the bottom left-hand corner, click on Grant Delegated Access, fill out parent, guardian, whoever you want that delegate to be, fill out their name, their relationship to you, and then email address that you use more all the time. Definitely make sure to save that email address because sometimes we'll have folks call in and be like, hey, I don't remember the email. Unfortunately, you have to remember the email, otherwise you won't have delegated access. So remember the email, write it down somewhere, post a note, whatever. If you use it all the time, you'll probably remember it. But definitely write down that information. That way, if you do call in, we can answer questions and kind of go over some account specifics and, be a little bit more helpful in that way. But definitely grant delegated access if you have not done already. Alrighty, my section now concludes for now. I'm going to hand it off to Sandra. It will be taking it over. Sandra, when you are ready, I'm ready.
Thank you, Damon. I am.
All right, perfect. I'm turning my camera off. That way you folks see me later.
Thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sandra Gonzalez. I work at the Office of the Bursar. This afternoon, I want to share with you authorized payer access. This is a separate access from delegated access, and this access will actually give you access to the student account activity, to make payments, to view history of payments and transactions, to enroll in the installment payment plan, and to obtain tax forms. And you need this access because by federal regulations, Penn State is prohibited from releasing any student account information to anyone, just the student, and it will allow us to release it to those individuals that are designated as authorized payers by the student on the student account. So I know that as parents, we are paying for the bill, but we have to abide by these regulations. And so if your student has not yet granted you authorized payer, I will show you how to do that really easy. If you go to the next screen, please.
Yep, absolutely.
And so in their LionPath home base, there is that My Finances tab on the top. If they click on that, that will take them to the student account. Next screen. And in there, under my account, there is a section that is called payers, and it's as easy as providing your first name, last name, and then an email address. And then they will indicate what type of access they want to provide you. Next screen. This then will send an email to you as a parent or any other individual that the student is granting authorized payer with their user ID, which is their email address, and then a temporary password and a link to access the account. And that link, if you go to the next screen, Damon, that link looks like this and is just like the previous screen that Damon had shared for delegated access, but you will then choose authorized payer access. And Damon, there is a little screen that I'm seeing, and I'm not sure if everybody can see it.
I don't know
There
what.
we go. Okay.
I'm just scrolling.
You
I don't
moved
know.
it
I don't
there.
know why it
Thank
popped
you.
up, but it did.
Thank you. So I am putting here a QR code. This is going to be recorded, but this is the link. This is the website where you can go going forward to go into the student account. And then the next. And then from here, I am going to pass it on to my colleague, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Tibbins. I'm an associate bursar here at Penn State. I'm going to be going over some of the billing information with you all. So student account statements are issued during the first week of each month. Typically, they'll be available on the first business day of the month. So for fall semester, the tuition calculation is going to take place on July 29th. So at that point, you would be able to see the charges on the student account. And then the billing will be taking place on August 1st. So that is when you will get your bill. Once the billing takes place, a electronic notification will be emailed to the students and authorized payers. And the notification will provide you a link with instructions to view and pay your bill. The statement will include all account activity from the previous month and is accessed through your authorized payer access on LionPath. The payment is typically due on the 22nd of each month, but there are a few exceptions. So for example, the August bill that will be issued on August 1st will not be due until September 3rd, which follows the drop deadline and add deadline, which is September 1st. So we want to make sure that the billing statement is as accurate as possible. So that's why the due date is not until September 3rd for this first bill. Anticipated aid is displayed on your billing statement, but please note that the aid is not deducted from the total due, since all aid awarded is not always accepted by the student at the time of billing. Next slide, please. So on your billing statement, so if we have that nice little QR code there to the right that will take you to the tuition cost estimator tool, but charges that you'll see on your billing statement, so you'll see your tuition, which if you want to check out tuition rates, you can go to www.tuition.psu.edu. Mandatory fees will also be on there. You may also have housing and food charges, bookstore charges, and course materials could be on there. Also other miscellaneous fees, like if there's ad drop or course or class fees that are associated with anything that you are enrolled in. Next slide. So here's an example of if you are in your student account and you're through the authorized payer access, and you go to the activity details, you can see everything that has all the activity on your account since your prior statement. Next slide. And so this is what your student account statement will look like. So this is a sample of what the fall billing will look like. So as you can see, the statement date is 8/1 with the due date on there of 9/3. You'll see on there, you'll see, a total due. If you have a previous balance, that will be on there. And then your estimated aid will show up on there. But as you can see, it does not subtract out from the total due. But this will show all your charges from the last statement. It'll also show enrollment information and if there are any holds or anything like that on the account. I will now pass it on to my colleague Adam, who will go over some payment options.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Adam, and I'm with the Office of the Bursar. And as Brad said, I'm going to discuss the various payment options that we have available to students and parents. So next slide, please. So our three most common payment options are e-check, credit card, or a paper check. So e-check is our online ACH payment option. It allows for you to make an ACH payment from a US-based bank account or for a checking or savings account. There is no fee associated with this payment method. And one of the nice things about it is that the payment is credited immediately to the student account upon submitting it. Also online, we offer payment by credit card. There is a service fee associated with debit and credit card payments. That is currently 2.25%. And in the similar as e-check, the payment is also credited to the student account immediately. And then our third most popular option is still a paper check in the mail. Is the information is shown on the student account bill statement. You are able to mail a payment directly to our office. And as long as you include the student ID, we will be able to receive it and process it appropriately. Typically, it takes about a week for us to receive a payment and process it. However, during the busy cycle, that time period can get longer, can be up to 2 weeks. And we have noticed, especially with 529 payments, that typically they can take about 2 to 3 weeks for us to receive the payment from them. Next slide, please. And for our international students and families, Penn State partners with Flywire to process payments internationally. These payments are initiated also online from the student account dashboard. And Flywire offers the ability to pay from 240 different countries, with the payment methods varying by country. And we have a QR code here that allows you to be able to get additional information with paying by Flywire. Next slide, please. We also offer what we refer to as our installment payment plan. The installment payment plan is available every semester, and it is available to all students. During the fall and the spring semester, the installment payment plan is spread out over 4 months. For the upcoming fall semester, that would be August, September, October, and November. And then in the spring, it would be January, February, March, and April. During the summer semester, just simply due to the shortened time frame, this payment plan is only 3 months spread over May, June, and July. The payment plan is completely optional, but if you wish to use it, you must enroll in it every semester. The first installment and a $45 enrollment fee are due at the time of enrollment. Enrollment in the plan can only be completed online from the student account dashboard, and it then therefore can only be completed by either the student or any of their authorized payers. The installment payment plan only has 2 valid payment methods, which are the e-check ACH or credit card. And when using a credit card with the payment plan, the service fee does still apply. And then when enrolling in the payment plan, it will require you to enroll in automatic payments for the remaining installments. Next slide, please. So here we have an example of the fall 2024 installment payment plan, which the enrollment will open when the bills are issued. When enrolling from the student account dashboard, a little pop-up will kind of come out from the side that will kind of give you a summary of the plan itself. And in this example, you can see how the plan is spread across the 4 different payments. The first installment is due when you enroll, and the other installments are due on the 22nd of their months. Simply to start the enrollment process, you simply click the button that says Enroll in Plan. Next slide, please. And then again, this is another summary of the beginning of the enrollment process, where you'll then see the various amounts and the dates of the future payments, as well as the terms and conditions of the plan as you begin your process of enrolling. Next slide, please. Similar to payments, we also have refunds for students. So typically, if students have more aid than their balance due, Penn State will then issue a refund to the student for those excess funds. So Penn State offers a direct deposit option, and it is the highly, highly recommended preferred option for students to be able to receive their funds. If a student is not enrolled in eRefund, a paper check will be mailed to their home address, and oftentimes either the check gets stale dated before the student returns home again, or we have sometimes had issues where they become lost in the mail. eRefund is dramatically faster and more reliable as a result. Enrollment in eRefund can only be completed on the student account dashboard by the student. Authorized payers do not have access to eRefund enrollment. And to enroll in eRefund, there's a big button. It's usually just on the main page, but also you can go to the My Account section, and there'll simply be an option to sign up for direct deposit refunds right there. It simply requires the routing and account number to the US-based bank account that you wish to send the funds to. Next slide. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Kara, to discuss 529 plan payments with you.
Thank you, Adam, and good evening, everyone. My name is Kara Benner, and I am the accounting manager for the external awards team. And to start off external awards topics tonight, I do plan to discuss 529 plans. Because Penn State is within the state of Pennsylvania, one of the biggest and most popular 529 plans that our team administers is from Pennsylvania Treasury. So PA 529 offers two different plans, one of which is called the Guaranteed Savings Plan, and the second is the Investment Plan. So the Pennsylvania Treasury offers these two different types of 529 plans, both of which offer a paper check option. But the Guaranteed Savings Plan also offers a wire transfer, which is very popular and a great streamlined method to have those payments issued to Penn State. And the Investment Plan does offer an ACH payment option to the Bursar's office as well. I will caution you that anytime a paper check is requested from the plan provider to Penn State, like Adam had mentioned, we're estimating about 2 to 3 weeks transit time for delivery of those checks from the Treasury to Penn State. So it's very much recommended that if you have a 529 plan, especially from Pennsylvania, is that you work directly with the Treasury to issue those payments as soon as you are able to. A few notes indicated on the right is that Penn State does not bill on behalf of students. So really any payment that is needed from the student to pay their tuition at Penn State, the student would have to work with the plan provider to initiate that payment that is desired towards tuition and fees. From Pennsylvania 529 standpoint, the billing statement that's published, I believe, is a requirement by the Treasury to have. So as soon as that billing statement is published, and again, we do that monthly, you'll be able to download a copy of that statement and provide that to the Treasury to initiate payment. Next slide, please. To continue talking about 529 plans, on the left are additional popular ones that we do see and work with pretty regularly. The first of which is Florida Prepaid. Florida Prepaid does offer 529 plan payments, and again, this would not be initiated by Penn State. The payment initiation process would be between the state of Florida, the Treasury office, and the student. So again, it is highly encouraged to initiate that as soon as possible. And then there are 7 additional state 529 plans listed. These 7, we do work directly with the Treasury offices within these states to work rosters with students who are anticipated to have payments coming from these states for from the 529 savings accounts. And then on the right, again, just to reiterate, work with your 529 plan provider. Whoever the provider is, the plan provider, just work with those plan providers directly to ensure that your withdrawal payment is initiated and distributed to Penn State in a timely fashion. So this slide is a lot of the takeaways that I did mention previously. Just again to mention, Penn State doesn't request funds from the college savings plan, but rather the students and the families do that directly with the savings plan. Submit the billing statement if that is a requirement with your 529 plan provider as soon as possible, because if it is a paper check option, it will take up to 2 to 4 weeks, but you can work with your plan provider to determine what their options are for payment. If it is all payment plan providers do offer checks, but it is a possibility that ACH is an option too. So again, you can work with your plan provider to determine what payment options they have and which one works best for you. And then most likely the 529 plan providers do require an official billing statement from Penn State. At the time those are issued at the beginning of every month, those billing statements can be downloaded and provided to these 529 plan providers, so payment can be issued promptly to Penn State. And the last topic that I do want to touch upon tonight is scholarship checks. So donors who wish to donate to pay towards students' tuition and fees, they can do so by issuing a paper check. That paper check can be made payable to Penn State directly. It is possible that the check can also be made payable to the student and Penn State. If that is the case, we would just ask that the student endorse the back of the check first and then provide that check to our office so we can then process the scholarship check towards the student account. We highly recommend that the check itself has the student ID on it, written anywhere, just so we can have the record of the student and the check of who it belongs to. And then the address of our team who processes these scholarship checks is listed here. You can certainly mail these scholarship checks to this address. And then you can also drop checks off as you visit campus to this office as well. There are oftentimes organizations will provide a award letter with the scholarship check. And if they do provide an award letter, a lot of times within that letter, there'll be directives on how Penn State should apply the scholarship funds to the student account. If the student did get an award letter with the check, we would encourage students provide that letter to us as well, so we can properly apply the funds to the student account, adhering to the donor's wishes. And then checks can be delivered to our office at any time for processing. We are processing awards for the fall semester, so if you have a scholarship check, feel free to send that off to our office or drop that off when you're visiting in August, and we'll be sure to see that that scholarship check is applied to your student's account. I believe that finishes my segment, and I'll turn it back over to my colleague Sandra.
Thank you, Kara. And actually, I think Damon, you're back on.
Alrighty. So just some quick financial. I'm not even going to try and touch the little joke that goes with that. Thoughts on this? So academic colleges. So we do award merit-based scholarships to the academic colleges. First year awarding is very minimal. So if you were not awarded an academic scholarship based off of merit, that is perfectly okay. The chances of doing so do increase significantly as you kind of go through your academic career. So if you weren't awarded one your first year, don't fret. The chances do increase significantly throughout the course of your Penn State career. General loan resources, Parent Plus loan, and private student loans are also the loan options you have available to you. Definitely look into Parent Plus loans if you haven't already as well. That is on studentaid.gov. And then private student loans, you just click in the Google search bar, private student loan servicers, lenders, if you want to call it, and then you'll have a bunch of information for you to look through. Outside scholarships, just kind of mentioned. Continue searching for those. We do post outside scholarships too on our Penn State website, which is studentaid.psu.edu. Definitely do look at those, as well as we do have a search bar in there if you click on through there, that has some extra information for you to kind of check on through and see what outside scholarships are there. Definitely checking that every now, like I'd say every couple of weeks. That way you can kind of see what's all out there. Definitely a lot of outside scholarships there. Definitely be looking for them. Please check your email. Cannot stress this enough. That is how we communicate with you, the students, as well as you, the parent. Please check your email. Otherwise, you may miss certain things that are very critical to what need to be completed, or just generally may miss some very critical information. So be checking that, and that is your Penn State email, not your personal email. You're gonna learn to be checking that Penn State email on the daily. So definitely be checking that. Just here is where to follow us on our social medias. We used to have Facebook. We no longer have it. So we have Twitter or X, and then we also have Instagram. All right, next I'm going to stop my sharing. We're going to go to a general Q&A, and that way we can kind of answer questions on the fly. I realize my video was not on that entire time as it slowly clicks on back to the light. So first and foremost, I'm going to pull my colleague Craig up here for this one. When you are ready, Craig, we'll answer that question. If a student or parent applies for a loan, are the funds sent to Penn State or the parent or / student?
All right, that's a good question. Regardless of what type of loan you would apply for, those funds are going to be sent automatically to Penn State, so it'll be handled right through the student's account. A couple things to keep in mind is that the processing time for the two different loan options do take a little bit different times. As far as a private loan goes, and once that is offered onto the student's account and the student accepts it, there is a 10-day mandatory right of rescission period before those loans can be dispersed. So something to keep an eye on. And when those loans are offered, just make sure the student goes in and accepts them as soon as possible. But yeah, it's all handled directly through Penn State. And again, if the student is expecting any type of a refund, definitely make sure they have your refund set up to expedite that refund process.
Perfect. Thank you, Craig. And then I'm just going to say, for the folks who raise their hand, just type your question into the chat, and then we'll get to it and answer it live. That way you don't have to go through the raising the hand section, however that would work. But just type your questions in the chat, and we'll try and answer them as quickly as we can live. So I know kind of the hot topic is 5.9 plans. So just kind of, I guess, Sandra or Kara, whoever wants to see this, just kind of just reiterate on how just kind of quick how that process works. So a lot of folks use the PA 529. That way you can kind of see how, just to double check and double down on how that process works for them.
Yeah, thanks, Damien. I can take that question. So as far as the PA 529 plan specifically, the student and parent will go out to the Treasury website and will follow the links through the payment initiation process and just follow the navigation steps that the Treasury already has pre-established to withdraw funds. And then if there are troubleshooting or payment processing issues along the way, I know the Treasury has a great support team that can help. We work very closely with the state Treasury to make sure the payment process is streamlined. So yeah, I would begin navigating to the Treasury website just to do some discovery work, but then when it comes time to actually initiate that process, follow the navigation steps through the website, upload a billing statement, indicate how you want payment to be made to Penn State, and then I think there's confirmation thereafter when payment is issued. And then when payment arrives at Penn State, it'll be credited towards the student accounts and the tuition and fees.
Wonderful, thank you. And then if you want to answer refund questions, it's all you too.
Do you
Adam,
want me
would
to answer
you-
that, Kara?
Yeah, go for it, Adam.
All right.
All right, Adam, I got one. If there is a refund, but it is for the Parent Plus loan, would the refund be returned to the parent that was indicated on the application, or to go to the student if direct deposit is set up?
It typically will go to the parent if that is what has been indicated, and Parent Plus refunds are only sent as a paper check to the borrower. There is no real option otherwise. If they indicated it to go to the student, that typically does get passed to us, and then we will then be able to issue it to the student based upon their refund preference.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's see. I think, Craig, for you, well, that's the question. I'm trying to think what to say. How to say this. For kind of we'll do out to kind of do a double whammy. For outside scholarships, where should kids be? Where should the kiddos be applying for?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's lots of resources. Again, as Damon showed earlier on our student aid website, studentaid.psu.edu. We do post lots of outside scholarship opportunities on our social media pages, so we definitely encourage you to follow one of our pages, either Facebook or, well, no longer Facebook, but Instagram or Twitter. Also, we do have some search engines out there on our sites as well that we suggest that you use. FastWeb is probably one of our favorites. If you've not heard of that, we highly encourage you to create an account there. You'll get scholarship applications directly to your inbox. Okay, there are some other links on our website, like the links for the academic colleges, so that way you know what the process is for your specific college, and also some different administrative units around campus that have funds available as well. So go out to our site and you'll find all that information on our website.
Wonderful. Thank you, Craig.
Sure.
Before you go, if a student decides to change the campus at the end of the year, how does that affect the grants and scholarships they have received? Like they're coming from a Commonwealth campus to University Park.
It's a good question, something that some students don't really think about too much, and then they kind of see what happens when they get here, and it can be a little bit of a shock. So any federal aid sources that you have would be the same. That's regardless of wherever you would attend. However, if you're at a Commonwealth campus and you have scholarships that are directly awarded by the Commonwealth campus, or some other scholarships that are specific to the campus, those would not transfer with you to University Park. So something to keep in mind. Also, usually the costs are a little bit higher typically, and then once you get to the third year, there's a little bump in tuition rates there as well. So just something to kind of plan for when you get down the road and thinking about year 3 for sure, especially if you're doing a 2+2 program.
Wonderful. Thank you, Craig. Let's see what else kind of ones. And then if you want, we'll touch on the direct sub. People are asking about direct subsidized, unsubsidized loan. Can you, I know Caitlin's kind of answering this one right now, but we'll do it live too. Can you increase those? Can you ask for an increase at all for like your first year, second year?
Yeah, it's a good question. Unfortunately, those direct student loans are automatically awarded for first year students up to $5,500 for a dependent student. The difference between the two types of loans, the subsidized loan is a needs-based aid source, so you may or may not qualify for that based upon your FAFSA data and your student aid index or SAI, but you're guaranteed to get that $5,500 for a first-year student. Now, where it gets a little confusing is a lot of people think that second year it automatically goes up to $6,500, but that's not quite true. It's actually by credits earned, not by the number of years in school. So as long as the student has earned over 29.1 credits, then year 2 they will get $6,500 total. And then once they get beyond 59.1 credits, it will go up to $7,500 total. But that $7,500 total for the sub and unsub combined is the maximum it would ever be for a dependent student. And you cannot request more, unfortunately.
Perfect. And then I know I kind of touched up too. When should people get their FAFSAs in if they haven't already?
You say when should they?
Yep. When should they?
As soon as you can. Obviously, we highly recommend, especially at Penn State, some of our funding is kind of first come, first serve. So the earlier you get your FAFSA in, depending upon what your SAI is, if you get it in late, you could have potentially missed some aid that you may have been awarded. So we always suggest you try to get in as early as possible. This last year was a little bit of an anomaly because of all of the delays, but next year it's supposed to open up again October 1st. So we encourage you to try to get that taken care of as soon as you possibly can.
Perfect. Thank you, Craig. And then I'll give one of the Bursar. I'll give you guys some love too. When does the bill come out again? We'll rate that as well.
I can answer that. So the bill is generated the first week of each month. It's generated typically the first business day of each month. So if you pay your bill in full, before the end of the month, you will not get a bill for the next month. You don't get a bill if there's anything on it. So it's only just, you'll get your fall bill on August 1st, and then if you pay everything, you would still get a billing statement that would show the activity since that last billing, but you wouldn't have anything additional due until the spring semester, as long as your bill is paid in full.
Perfect. Thank you, Brad. Then for folks are interested in doing the installment plan, if they would miss the first installment plan or installment portion, are they still able to enroll in it for the second, third, and fourth installment plan?
Yes, so the installment payment plan, you are able to enroll in it later. It will force you to catch up, is the term we use. So if you enroll after the initial due date for the plan, which is September 3rd, it will force you to pay that first installment and that second installment. And then if you go past the second installment, it will force you to pay the first 3 installments at one time. And it would also include any late fees that may have been assessed in the meantime.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adam. And then Craig, I'll pull you back online for some Parent Plus loan stuff. I see you typing that one. Generally, how long does it take for someone, if they apply for the Parent Plus loan, how long does it take to apply to the account itself, usually?
Yeah, good question. It's usually the Parent Plus loan is a very quick process. We actually suggest you wait until you see the actual bill. That way you can apply for that specific amount and not have to borrow more than what you really need. If you do that, you can apply as an answer within sometimes minutes or within a day. It can be on the account easily before the bill is due. So it's definitely a very quick process. Private loans are a little bit longer because of that 10-day right of rescission period we talked about earlier, but you can wait to apply for those after the bill as well. Just make sure that they're accepted as soon as they're offered, so that way we know that money is coming and you don't have to worry about any potential late fees.
All right, perfect. And then for both Parent Plus and private loan, do they have to accept the Parent Plus loan, and do they have to accept the private loans in LionPath?
Yeah, absolutely. Both would have to be accepted. Anything that is not, a grant or scholarship, those are automatically accepted on behalf of the student since they're free money. Anything that's a loan or something like a federal work study would have to be accepted in LionPath. So definitely want to make sure you do that. And students will be notified once those are offered, and they'll get emails. So as long as they're checking their emails regularly, they should be notified and know when to do that as soon as they can.
All right, wonderful. And then I'm just trying to read these questions. And just to clarify, they do not need to accept the Parent Plus loan. That one automatically gets applied to, I think, is what it was as well. Before I forget.
Yeah, it gets offered on the account, but they still would have to accept it in LionPath in order for it to be dispersed. A student or a parent can apply for it and be approved, but that doesn't mean that they have to actually accept the funds. So you still do have to accept the funds in LionPath in order for it to be applied to the account.
Perfect. Thank you, Craig.
Sure.
And this is when for the Bursar crew, when is a bill payment considered late? And is there a late fee with it?
So a bill is considered late if it has not been paid in full by the due date on the billing statement. And yes, there is a late fee of 1.5% of the balance that is associated with that.
And then is there any such thing as a late fee waiver at all?
Not typically, unless there is something that is outside of the student or parent's control, that would we would then consider it, but typically no.
Okay, perfect. And then I'm gonna pull you back on here, Brad. You better not go. When do those late fees get calculated? Like when at one point does that start to get applied to the account if there's still a bill?
So the late fee would be assessed after the due date, and you would see it on your next billing statement. You would see the late fee.
All right, now you're good to go for this one, Brad. And then I'll keep going. We'll just kind of reiterate too, so if some folks may have just joined recently. Where would they go to and get enrolled in the monthly installment plans?
So to enroll in the installment payment plan, it appears as an option on the student account dashboard, which is the same place where the tuition bill shows up. You can just make a payment online. There is an option off on the left side that says payment plans. And when you click that, there's a button there that will just kind of start the process for you.
Wonderful. And then if you have a recommendation, when would you recommend that people start to look at and enroll that?
We advise them to do it as soon as they're ready. You do need to do it by the due date, which is September 3rd for fall 2024. But there is not a real difference between doing it on August 1st and doing it on September 2nd. Because one of the things we know a lot of people like to do is if you have aid sources that are paying for at least a portion of the bill, you may want to wait for those to be applied first, because the installment payment plan will calculate based upon the remaining balance. We know that's a pretty common thing that people do. So you may have to wait a little bit. But like I said, there's not a real big difference between enrolling on August 1st and September 2nd. It's pretty much all the same, but you want to do it before the due date so that if you run into an issue, we're able to assist. But at the same time, you don't want to have to start making additional payments because you enrolled late.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adam. And then, Craig, I'll pull you back on this one for two. When parents apply for their PLUS loans, private loans, do they need to accept those monthly? Is it once a semester? Like when do they need to apply or accept those?
So from, I guess, what I heard earlier is that parents don't actually have access to LionPath. So once those are approved, those are automatically accepted, I guess, on the accounts. So there is no need to accept those. And there would not be monthly for sure now. So once it's approved and on the account and accepted, it automatically happens, regardless of whether it depends upon whether they applied for it for the semester or for the year. But yeah, it's just that one time when it's offered on there and it's accepted, it's good to go.
Wonderful. Thank you, Craig. And then Kelly, or one of our colleagues, Kelly, will share the links we have on the account to this. That way, like the links through the presentation itself, that way you will have that information. And then we will have this meeting being recorded as well. So one person said about there's a lot of questions going on that. So you can actually, whenever we do post this recording sometime next week, you will be able to have it, like, go through, rewatch it to your heart's content. You can also, if you have follow-up questions after this, you can always reach out to us via email, phone. But just as a reiteration, we will have this posted again online. Kelly's also going to share the links into that we have on the PowerPoint themselves. That way you have that information, kind of go through them. I think we have a couple more minutes left on this one, so we're going to try and wrap up the questions. Please keep asking them. We'll have, as I said, we have a couple more minutes on this one. We'll just keep wrapping it up, and then we'll kind of go from there. For Parent Plus Loan specifically, for Craig, how quickly is that applied to their account?
So, like I said, if you wait to apply even after the bill comes out, it should easily be on the account and apply whenever the aid disperses. For the fall, typically the aid disperses about 1 week prior to classes starting, and it'll be about the same time then in the spring. So usually, again, about 1 week before classes start, it'll automatically apply towards the balance at that time.
Perfect. Thank you, Craig. And then for Bursar Crew, how long does it typically take to get to the Eve refund portion of things? Like, how long does it take for the deposit to hit their account?
We officially say 3 to 5 business days, but depending upon your bank, we've had students tell us they've seen it within like 2 business days. We typically do refunding on Fridays, so normally people see it the following Monday or Tuesday.
And then for the checks, I guess what's a general timeline if they do the check option for that refund to be issued for that as well?
Say they're kind of in that same boat. They're usually done on a Friday, but they have to be printed and then mailed. And then however long it takes to get to where it's going is completely dependent upon the U.S. Postal Service. Most students seem to get them within like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And that's assuming if the address was valid, because quite a few of them do come back to us. So.
And then it looks like, Kelly, we did have those, as I said, we did have those links shared to our chat. So you can actually click on these after we're all done with this. That way, if you have like some questions about how to click on one, you can just click on one through and everything should work for you for that. Looks like we'll answer 1 or 2 more questions. You can also take a screenshot of it as well. That way you have the information there as well. And you will be to hyperlink it or click on the hyperlink itself, but you can screenshot and have the information saved. We will do 1 or 2 more questions because we have one more minute left. Craig will pull you back on for this last one. Do scholarships transfer between campuses?
No, more than likely it will not. It depends upon the scholarship. But again, if it's specifically awarded by a campus, or there's certain other scholarships that do not transfer, typically when they're awarded, the student will get a letter and it will explain what the requirements of it are and usually let them know whether it would or not.
Alrighty, perfect. So, and then the Parent Plus loan, can they request to have it split between the semesters? Or can they do it? Or how would they request that? Or I guess the question will be to specify, can they do, can they apply for one semester at a time, whole year?
Yeah, absolutely. You get to choose what you want, the loan terms to be. So if you want to apply for a semester at a time, you certainly can. I think by default it's set to apply for the full year. And if it is, it will automatically be split equally between the fall and the spring. And the summer session would require a separate application. So it just depends upon how you apply for the loan originally.
All right, perfect. So we're going to answer these last two questions, but we do appreciate everyone joining us today. We do, Deno might be busy, but we appreciate everyone joining us today. We'll answer these last couple questions in the chat, and then we will conclude this. But as I said, thanks for joining us. And for the resource link, it will, if you just go back and watch, like when we have the recording posted up, it will actually be there itself. So you can have that. We'll have, whenever we do the posting later, we'll have it on there. This will be posted later on next week, and then we'll be able to, you can access it via our student aid website, and I think it might be posted on YouTube as well. But thank you all for joining. I hope you folks have a great rest of your night. Stay safe, and we'll end this now.